won the election.
It's wild how relevant it still feels.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's like a time capsule.
Totally captures that moment in history.
We've got excerpts.
Yeah, we'll really dig into the language.
The strategy behind it all.
This speech wasn't just him celebrating.
Right.
It set the stage for his whole presidency.
Like we can see his communication style in it.
Exactly. The themes he kept hitting on.
And the ways he connected with voters.
All packed into one speech.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
So what jumps out at you right away?
Well, the speech starts with tons of thank yous.
He's obviously loving the win.
Oh yeah, thanking supporters.
Talking about the movement.
But it's more strategic than just being polite.
Okay, so how is it strategic?
Just think by saying thank you so much.
Okay.
And by always saying we.
Right.
He creates this instant sense of unity.
Makes everyone feel like they're in it together.
Like they're part of this huge win.
Part of something big.
Exactly.
But then he changes the tone pretty fast.
Yeah, he does.
Starts talking about America needing help.
Says it urgently needs our help.
And that so many things need fixing.
Why the sudden shift?
Yeah, why do you think that
The
is?
shift is key.
Okay.
He's establishing a problem.
Oh, I see.
He's painting a picture of a struggling nation.
So he can come in as the solution.
Exactly. He's setting himself up as the hero.
Clever.
All right.
It's like he's saying, don't worry, I'm here to fix it.
And of course, he uses the Make America Great Again line.
That's more than just a slogan, though, right?
Way more.
What made that so effective?
Well, it taps into this deep desire,
Okay.
this yearning for past greatness.
When America was supposedly better,
Stronger, more prosperous, more respected.
but it's intentionally vague.
Oh, absolutely.
What does great even mean?
Exactly. That's the brilliance of it.
Each voter can have their own idea.
Exactly. It's a blank canvas.
I like that.
People project their own vision onto it.
So it resonates with lots of different people
People who feel left behind, forgotten,
who want things to be simpler.
who think America's lost its way.
It gives them hope.
That promise that things can get better.
Powerful stuff.
It is.
He also calls out specific states.
The ones that really helped him win.
Swing states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin.
Why do you think he does that?
Well, it seems like he's solidifying support,
You got it.
showing them he understands their concern.
He's acknowledging their importance.
Like he's saying, I see you, I hear you.
And I appreciate you.
It's a personal touch in a big national speech.
And speaking of personal,
Yeah, he talks about his family a lot.
he does.
Melania, his kids, even his deceased in-laws.
Why do you think he brings them up?
It feels like he's trying to humanize himself.
You're right on.
He was often seen as this ruthless businessman.
He was.
Sharing these stories shows his softer side.
He seems relatable, warm.
Even a little vulnerable.
So he's not just this powerful figure.
Right, he's a husband, a father.
Makes him seem more like the average person.
More approachable.
Yeah, like one of them.
And then he lays out his plans.
Hits all the big topics.
Border security.
Economic prosperity.
Defeating ISIS.
But he doesn't get into specifics.
No, he really doesn't.
Why do you think that is?
He's focusing on feelings, not policy details.
Yeah, exactly.
Phrases like secure our borders
Tap right into anxieties about safety
and national security
while promising to reduce taxes.
gives people hope about the economy,
It's all about triggering emotion,
painting a picture of the future.
but leaving the details blurry.
He wants you to feel it, not analyze it.
You got it.
And through it all, he projects strength.
Leadership?
He says, we will make America stronger and safer than ever.
Powerful words.
Beas,
A strong language reinforces his image.
as a leader
Someone who gets things done,
who can protect the country.
especially when people are feeling scared.
So it's not just the words,
Yeah.
it's the feeling behind them.
The confidence he's projecting. There's so much that goes into a speech like this.
It's really fascinating.
Absolutely.
What are your initial thoughts?
Honestly, I'm struck by how strategic every line is.
Me too.
It's carefully planned to get specific reactions,
Like a performance,
and it's working.
you can feel the energy, the hope.
It's generating a sense of change.
And that's what makes it so interesting to analyze.
It's a masterclass in political communication.
It really is.
And it gives us a glimpse.
Into what shaped our current political landscape.
Exactly. So we were talking about how personal the speech got,
Yeah, with his family.
but then it's interesting how he talks about unity.
Yeah, after such a divisive campaign.
It is, right?
He calls for healing, bringing everyone together.
does.
But then there are these little digs at his opponents.
You noticed that too.
Yeah, it's subtle.
It is.
But he talks about overcoming the impossible.
Winning despite the doubters.
Right.
It keeps that us versus them feeling going.
Which was so central to his whole campaign. So even when he's talking about unity,
There's still that edge
like he's reminding them of the fight.
of the people who didn't believe in them.
Yeah, exactly.
It feeds that underdog narrative.
That we defy the odds.
It makes people feel like they're part of a movement.
Like they made history.
That's powerful.
And he definitely plays up the change angle.
Oh, yeah.
He keeps saying things like, taking back our country.
Turning things around.
It's like he's speaking directly to their frustrations.
Their anxieties.
Remember, this was a time when people felt lost,
Economically insecure.
disillusioned with the whole system,
They felt like the system was rigged.
like no one was listening to them.
And Trump understood that.
He knew exactly how to tap into it.
He was the disruptor,
The outsider.
the one who would shake things up.
Give power back to the people.
And then he gets into his promises,
Yeah, he does.
securing the border,
Reducing taxes.
repealing and replacing Obamacare.
Those were his big campaign promises.
They were
And each one appealed to a different group.
like the wall.
That appealed to people worried about security,
About cultural change.
the tax cuts,
That resonated with people struggling financially.
and repealing Obamacare.
People who felt it was government overreach.
It's like he's checking off boxes,
He is.
addressing all those hot button issues.
But notice how he frames it all.
Okay.
He doesn't just list policies.
Maybe you should emotional.
He ties it to national strength prosperity.
Right. It's not just we'll lower taxes.
It's we'll make America prosperous again.
Exactly.
It taps into that longing.
For a better future.
When America was supposedly more secure,
And he keeps saying he's the only one who can do it.
no one else has what we have.
We have the best people.
Classic Trump.
He's the only one.
He's establishing his qualifications,
Showing he's a strong leader.
a deal maker.
Someone who gets things done.
So he's both the outsider.
And the best person for the job.
It's a powerful mix.
But looking back, it's amazing how much of it is emotion.
Not actual policy.
It's like he's painting with broad strokes,
Letting the audience fill in the blanks.
with their own hopes and fears.
You're right.
He gets storytelling.
The power of emotion.
And this speech lays the groundwork.
For a presidency driven by emotion.
Bold statements.
That direct connection with his base.
It's like he creates a shared reality,
A narrative that people can buy into.
regardless of the facts.
That's a great point.
And it raises some big questions.
About emotion in politics.
How stories shape what we believe,
What happens when a presidency is built on feelings?
not facts.
But we'll dive into all that in the last part.
You've definitely got me thinking.
Right.
Can't wait to hear your take on the impact of this speech.
It's not just history
It's a roadmap
to how Trump rose to power.
and how he changed things.
And the more we understand this speech,
The more we understand our current political world.
exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the themes, the promises, the emotional stuff in Trump's victory speech.
It's amazing how long we can get from just one speech.
I know, right? It really is.
But what about the bigger picture?
Yeah. Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
What's the lasting impact of this? How did it change things?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is.
And honestly, it's something we're still figuring out.
As a country?
Yeah, as a whole society.
So how did this speech change things?
Well, think about Trump's way of talking.
Okay.
His focus on feelings more than policy.
Yeah.
That became a model for other people.
Like it set a new standard for how to talk to voters.
It changed the rules of the game.
So it's not just about what he said,
Right.
it's how he said it.
It normalized this way of speaking, prioritizing connecting with people.
Sometimes even over facts or nuance.
So what are the big takeaways from all of this? What should we be thinking about?
Well, I think there are a few important lessons here.
Okay.
It reminds us that words are powerful.
They are.
They shape how we see things.
How we feel.
They can even change what happens.
It also shows us that we have to think critically. We can't just believe everything we hear. Exactly. We have to be able to tell fact from fiction.
To really analyze information.
To have real discussions even when they're hard.
It's like this speech forces us to see
How divided we are.
the anxieties and the anger driving us apart.
It's a lot to think about.
It is, but it's also empowering in a way.
How so?
Because if we understand these forces,
You can do something about them.
we can learn to communicate better,
To really listen to each other.
to build connections instead of walls.
And that's what I hope people take away from this
Yeah.
this election, Trump's victory speech.
They were huge moments in our country.
But the story isn't over.
We all have a role to play in what happens next.
And it starts with understanding the power of words.
the importance of thinking for ourselves.
And talking to each other with respect.
And on that note,
Yeah.
we'll wrap up our deep dive into Trump's victory speech.
I hope you found it interesting.
I know I did.
Thanks for listening.
And until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, keep the conversation going.